See, alright, so first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, but Shem Yahushai, but Shem Kakadash. We say double and Saposan, and let's agree most and Ruva, our teachers, our apostles in truth, and we see salutations, so the Akim said the push with no truth and sincerity, day in and day out, and constantly in season or season, we say Shalom. Once again, going into a video here, and this touching upon some news that, this came out early this morning, right? No, I didn't read the full article, and I was just reading some of the highlights of this thing, right? Now it goes into those modes, those on the other side guys, right? As you could remember, matter of fact, let me read the headline. It says LGBT activist Jason Jones will have to wait longer for a final ruling in his more than decade-long constitutional challenge to this country's buggery and serious indecency laws, right? So let's go into the article here a little. I'll skip that piece since I read it. See United Kingdom Supreme Court President Lord Robert Reid and 4 other lords of the Privy Council reserved judgment in the final appeal of Jones Landmark case after hearing submissions in London yesterday. You see, the case deals with complex issues of law which would take us some time to go through. We will let you know our decision in due course. It's in a statement issued before the hearing. Jones said he was confident the country's highest appellate court would uphold his claim. The Privy Council will never uphold a 500-year-old, phobic. I ain't gonna say, you say certain words, how YouTube be, right? I will just use the word phobic piece of British law that goes against the rights of the individual. Not in 2026, I'm going to win, right? So this guy is basically fighting for rights with these moves, right? And when you hear these things, I show it. I saw 1 or 2 people share this thing and it was against it, right? Because if it's one thing, a lot of people, a lot of Jake, they may not know the scriptures, right? But if it's one thing, for sure that this particular act, that they do in this group is totally wrong. What this whole group is built upon is wrong. So when they see it get brought up, they see it in the news, they will always be against it, right? Now, obviously, it had the wicked ones that would agree, but it have those that would just literally be against it. Because why? This what happened. Matter of fact, let me go to the scripture. This is Jude chapter 1 verse 7, right? It say, even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, right? And it's set for an example. So let me just look up the word example, right? The meaning of the word example, right? And I'll just go back to what I was saying before. See if I get here. Example meaning, right? So the meaning of the word example, an example is a specific instance, model, or case that illustrates a general rule, principle, or behavior, right? It says, let me see if I get a different meaning here. It's a example in the Merriam-Webster. If you could open up, it's a person or way of behaving that serves as a pattern to be limited or not to be imitated. So going back to the scripture now, as it states here, it says, even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example. So what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah is set for an example. That is why even today, as I mentioned before, people that don't know the scriptures, but Sodom and Gomorrah is so much of an example of how not to be. They would totally be against this act, right? Because why? As you mean in the word example, again, it says a person or way of behaving that serves as a pattern to be imitated or not to be imitated, right? And it's a behavior and things that they were doing in Sodom and Gomorrah that you're not supposed to be imitating or you're not supposed to be following at all, right? It's set forth an example. Why was it set forth an example? And this is the next piece here. It says, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire, right? Suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. That is why when you see these things, You go randomly hear Jake, just mention, he say, burn this place like Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Or you might jump on and say, this place going to burn like Sodom and Gomorrah. Because why? It's set forth as an example of what not to imitate, what not to follow, right? So when you see things like this, hey, it's totally wrong, right? It says, so let me finish up the article here. It says, drawing a comparison with the colonial laws that once prohibited members of spiritual Baptist faith from worshiping, Jones said, gay people don't want or need a holiday. We just want what every Trinbagonian has: the right to live our lives without persecution, the right to love whomever we choose, right? You see, Jones said, pursuing the case had come at immense personal cost. This case has taken everything from me. I've lost family, friends, and love. He said, claiming he had to sell family heirlooms to pay his initial legal fees. And even some of the families and friends, obviously, they will come out, they wouldn't even deal with him no more, because they wouldn't agree what it is he's doing, because they know, hey, there's something wrong to do, right? Remembering that example that was set forth, right, which is what Sodom and Gomorrah. That's why it say, reading over, it say, even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, as set forth for an example. Set forth as a what? As an example, right? Do not imitate, do not do take part in those things, right? It says, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Now let me go now to another scripture here. And let me go to Second Peter, right, chapter 2, verse 6. It say, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemn them with an overthrow. It say, making them an example, right, unto those that after should live ungodly, right? No, this one, before I continue, right. Sorry. So reading over it one time, it say, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemn with an overthrow, right? Turning it into what? Ashes. So we feel going to happen to this place? We kind of wickedness being done, all these things, right? It's a making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly. Making it what? An example unto those that after should live ungodly. So those who want to live ungodly, Sodom and Gomorrah become an example unto them of what happened to those of that time that was doing these ungodly acts, right? And they received that judgment. These things that they continue to do, we feel it going and be not punished. No, you all are going to be punished. And again, it's a Jake. You need to be a Jake, but most likely a light skin Jake, right? Go back up to what I was reading. Right. It say so verse 7, say 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 7, it say, and deliver just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked, for the righteous man dwelling among them, in seeing and hearing, vex his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. They say the Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. So yes, so where you feel these acts that the Lord said not to take part in, if you all feel you're all not going to be unpunished, no, there are things coming your way, right? Soon, right? Soon, You say, so let me just go back to the article. It say, join a comparison. No, let me go wrong. I don't read that already. So it say, the case has taken everything from me. I've lost family, friends, and love. Obviously, because again, your friends, your family, and those around you, some of them just know that it's just something that they're not supposed to be taking part in, right? Again, that example was given unto us, right? Don't do that, because there's a judgment to receive for that, right? When you go now to the law of the Lord, right? Let's go to the law. And let's go to Deuteronomy chapter is it 21? No, I ain't gonna bring this one yet, right? Right, I ain't gonna bring this one yet. Matter of fact, let me bring it. Let me go to the let me read Deuteronomy, but I'll read Leviticus chapter 18, and let me read verse 22. It said, "Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination, and there is as plain as it could be." You know, if it's one of the things Jake knew, right? If it's one of the laws Jake knows, that a man not supposed to be doing those things. A woman not supposed to be lying with a woman. A man not supposed to be lying with a man. They know it's wrong. And that is why even like when again, join a reference, when certain things like example this, people who some of the comments were already mentioning Sodom and Gomorrah. Remember what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? Remember the things he was doing back then, and it's the same things he's doing today, and judgment come to this place soon. Yeah. The example, right? They say, "Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. It is abomination." And the scriptures mention the Lord hated what? Matter of fact, let me get that. Lord. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus chapter 15 and verse 13. It says, "The Lord hated all abomination, and they that fear God love it not." Right? So when you listen to people that talking about, love is love, and let them be. No. The ones that fear God, they wouldn't love those abominations that's being done. Right? So you see, the Lord hated all abomination. He didn't pick and choose which one good and which one bad. No, he tell it straight out. He hated all abomination, and this particular act that they be in is an abominable act. It is an abominable act. So if the Lord gonna love it, no, he's not. Right? They say, "And they that fear God love it not." And that's a straight cut for these churches that say, the Lord love everybody, and we supposed to love everybody. No, it's strictly telling you, "And they that fear God love it not." So them that fear the Lord, they're not going to love these things, right? They're not going to love these things. So now going back to 2 Peter, right? So it say the Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment, to be punished, to be what? To be punished. Right? And that is what being reserved for, time to be what? Punished. Same with Sodom and Gomorrah, right? If it had, how much it was? 10 it rejoined to, and it didn't even find 10. And what happened to it after? What happened to that place after? Today is being used. It is widely being used, no matter where it is in the world. Sodom and Gomorrah has always been used as of that particular example, right? Of what happened to a place that does these things, right? You can just Google it. Google why is Sodom and Gomorrah being used, right? Or what Sodom and Gomorrah is being used for today, or the example is set forth, and see what they tell you. It's going to basically tell you the same thing I'm saying. The acts that were committed in those in that place, right? No, I had another one. All right, so let's continue. Read a little bit into it to say Jones the appealing the majority decision of the Court of Appeal, which overturned in 2018. All right, so let me go down a little bit. Right, so the old law was you're basically going to get in prison, right? So I wouldn't read no more, but it just goes to show that hey, what they're speaking about, right? So he said to talk about slavery was once lawful, interracial marriages were once condemned as being unnatural and immoral. Women were once denied equal rights, because society believed that. I know I'm just using particular examples that are not even supposed to be used into what to do wickedness, to do wickedness, right? Because we feel Esau going and not be unpunished for the things to do. Nah, them are judgment to receive for the things that they do, right? But this whole thing is totally off, something that is against the Lord, something that is not supposed to be taken part in, right? And that's why it said the ungodly they reserve for punishment, and a punishment is coming with hey, you only going to get away, right? So with that, once again, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yehovah, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash. We said that when it's apostle, it's a great Muslim rule, our teachers are apostles in truth, and we say salutations, only Akim, so they push you with no truth and sincerity. Day in and day out, and constantly in season or season, we say shalom.